Dredge all that often, and we don't see Mud all that often. So,
and certainly not at 6-0.
No, we don't. So, Manic Influence is going to come down here. Now, that's another 5-color land for these Dredge decks that we see him play. You know, Tarnished Citadel, City of Brass, Gemstone Mine, Manic Influence. He's going to therapy himself, and you can see that he's clearly mulliganed quite a bit, but that's what Dredge does. Put a Grave Troll over in the bin, and look to have some fun over the next couple of turns.
And that's it. Now we're slow dredging.
Yeah, it's not fast. This game will not be fast. Hopefully, for Eric, he dredges appropriately. Now, Harold has no interest in playing any fair Magic here either. He's going to play an Ancient Tomb. He's got a lot of double lands in his deck for Mud. He's going to play a copy of Chalice of the Void. That's going to shut off all the 1-mana spells.
And I think that's okay, because Eric's plan basically for the rest of this game is to dredge Golgari Grave Troll, maybe hit another dredger, and just keep dredging that way. He's not really interested in casting spells. And the Chalice also doesn't stop you from casting the spell, so he'll still be able to dredge into a Narcomoeba, put that into play, and then if he wants to, he can still sacrifice it to cast Cabal Therapy. The Therapy will just get countered. But if he has any Bridge from Belows in his graveyard, then he'll be able to trigger those and make zombies. So the Chalice is generally pretty good, like especially if Harold was on the play, for example. You know, Eric wouldn't have been able to Therapy himself and get the dredging going. But right now, it's a little lackluster.
Eric's hand right now, there is a Bridge from Below and an Narcomoeba. You'd rather have those cards in your deck than in your hand, but because this deck does have to mulligan quite a bit to make things work, sometimes things don't break your way. So Eric has 2 relatively bad cards in his hand, but he doesn't care about those. He cares about what's in the bin. So he's going to turn over 6 cards here. There was a Thug among them. There's also 2 copies of Faithless Looting. And all he can do is just pass the turn back, so he does have another Dredger there in Golgari Thug. Harold's going to play another double land, and I believe we might see a Lodestone Golem pretty early, but he's actually going to go with a Metal Worker.
Yeah, you see a Staff of Domination in Harold's hand, so he might just be able to go infinite next turn with Metal Worker and Staff.
There's a big smile on my face.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They can't see it. I can.
I haven't seen it on camera yet, so it's time to dredge a Thug.
It's a Grave Troll.
Or excuse me,
one of those
the Grave Troll. Yeah, he has 1 more of those. So Narcomoeba's going to come in. But, you know, this is the difference when you, like, have a Coliseum or a Breakthrough, and when you don't, and when you just mulligan into Dredge 6 a bunch.
Right.
And you have to hope that you dredge appropriately.
Yeah.
Which, it's fine, but it's not great.
It's not where you want to be. There are some decks that can punish you. They just end up being faster than you. In this case, Mud, with a turn 2 Metal Worker, is probably going to kill you on turn 3.
Yep. So they're just going to untap those lands. It's a Lightning Greaves. This is 4 mana. I think we might have to actually get the Staff of Dominance ready. Yeah, okay, so Staff has 5 abilities. There are 5 artifacts, so that's
10 mana.
10 mana. And then you just go Stone off, right?
Yeah, you just use it to untap your Metal Worker, make infinite mana, and then keep untapping the Staff, untapping the Metal Worker, so on and so forth. You can gain infinite life, draw your deck. Eventually, he could put, Blightsteel Colossus into play with Lightning Greaves and attack for lethal.
Yo, turn 3, you're dead. Nothing personal. See you later.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about the Chalice not being very effective, right? Because he could still cast the Therapy to sack his thing. Mm-hmm. But in that case, if he wanted to, he could have, like, if Harold didn't have the Chalice, Eric could have used Cabal Therapy, seen what was going on, got a zombie off Bridge from Below after sacking the Narcomoeba, and then if he had another Therapy, he could have gotten rid of that Staff and maybe lived for a little bit longer. So the Chalice actually did something that game. It protected Harold's hand, and he just gave him the combo finish.
Well, Harold White, very impressive game 1 win over Eric Copenhaver playing Dredge. We will take a look at the Dredge sideboard. It's always kind of a mishmash of stuff to beat Graveyard Hate.
Yeah, so Eric has 4 Nature's Claims, 4 Firestorm, an Ancient Grudge, a Rare Revelation, a Gemstone Mine, a Dredge Return, an Iona, a Flamekin Zealot, and an Ashen Rider. And you got to expect against the mono brown deck that some Nature's Claims are coming in. Ancient Grudge, also very good. Gemstone Mine generally comes in when you are also boarding in those sideboard cards, and you expect to have to, have a solid, stable mana base. Generally, they don't play very many lands. Eric has 13 main decks, so you might want the 14th to just ensure that your opening hands that have a Nature's Claim also have a land to cast it. And then, if he wants to, he can bring in a second Dread Return and a Fatty to animate. In this case, it'll probably be an Ashen Rider to remove any weird permanent that Harold might have, such as Ensnaring Bridge.
Take a look at Harold's sideboard here. I'm excited for some spice. There's a Sphere of Resistance, a Thorn of Amethyst, 3 Trinispheres, 2 Tormod's Crypts, a Mindslaver, a Wormcoil Engine, 3 Phyrexian Revokers, 2 Ratchet Bombs, and a Duplicant. So not the spiciest Mud sideboard I've ever seen. There's no Spine of Isha, but that's not so bad. Tormod's Crypts are pretty easy. Trinisphere is actually like lights out if it gets into play, because the Dredge deck can't cast any more spells.
Yeah.
But, 3 mana, I guess, isn't that expensive for this deck.
It's not. I mean, Eric is citing in an extra land to try and play around stuff like that. But yeah, like Trinisphere is certainly very good. At that point, you are basically on the Icarid plane where you just keep bringing those back. End of turn, those will die. You'll make Bridge from Below zombie tokens, and then you just kind of have to manually kill them that way. You don't need to cast spells.
There's a Wormcoil Engine kind of hanging out over here as well. Maybe those effects that make cards cost more, like Sphere Resistance and Thorn, there could be some interest there. Ratchet Bomb is good at blowing up the zombies, or maybe your own permanents to get Bridge from Belows out of the graveyard.
Yep.
But I don't expect too many changes. Again, the Crypts are clearly the best cards in the sideboard
certainly.
for Herald. So for you, I remember there's a Grand Prix that you and I played in. We actually went to together. It was either Richmond or Charlotte. I believe it was Charlotte. Crumb won this one.
Yeah.
It's the Dredge. It's the Dredge GP.
It was when Dredge was a thing. Like it was under the radar, right?
This was the first one.
Adam Yurchik had won a PTQ with the deck the weekend before.
I thought it was the weekend after.
It was the weekend before.
Okay.
Me and him worked on that deck.
Okay.
So then, yeah, me and a few other people show up to the Grand Prix with this deck, and people knew it was a thing. It was a lot of hush-hush talk, right? But it was super fair. It wasn't like Icarid existed, but there was no Narcomoeba, no Bridge from Below, nothing busted like that. We were killing people with Psychotog, man. We were dredging to fill our graveyard for Psychotog.
You're playing Tolarian Winds, I think?
Tolarian Winds, Zombie Infestation, Wonder.
But this deck was pretty good.
It was good.
This deck was good. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I've told this story before, but I'm pretty sure you played against Billy P like round 4?
Round 4, after our 3 buys, in the mirror match.
Yep.
And we're like, we talked about this during breakfast or whatever, during our 3 buys. It's like, oh, what happens if we play against the mirror? Maybe we should draw to get into the control bracket. And then Billy and I sit down, and it's just like, are we doing this? Are we intentionally drawing in round 4? And it's just like, yeah, sure, sign me up. And then I played 3 Psychotog decks in a row and crushed them all.
Yeah. That's where Dredge actually really made its debut on the grand scale. And Mike Crum, who was your roommate at the time, won the tournament with it.
Won the tournament, 3 copies in top 8 total.
Tom Lapille and someone else. I don't know who the
Antonino.
Antonino top 8?
Yeah,
okay.
Crum and Lapille were playing, I think, the same deck as me, like the exact same deck list. And then Ant had worked with the other target people like OSIP, and they had come to their own list.
So you should have. I know you don't ever do a great job of convincing me to play your decks because I'm just super stubborn.
Yeah, but that was one of those times where I had the best deck in the tournament.
Yeah, I should have played the deck. I mean, I played Heartbeat with a bunch of Brain Freeze's main decks. So when you dredged your whole deck, I just finished Brain Freezing you.
Right.
And it worked 3 times in the tournament, but it didn't work every time.
Yeah.
So that's also the only time I've ever really played actually kind of a hard combo deck to play in a tournament. It was a lot of fun. I ended up cashing, but I mean, Icarid was far and away the best deck of the tournament.
Yeah, I also cashed barely, but my losses were just heartbreakers.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones I feel got away,
Yeah, that was one heck of a tournament. Looks like Eric is going to keep, maybe 6 cards here. He's going to play Faithless Looting off a City of Brass. Get some cards in the bin here as he does draw 2 cards. See a Bridge from Below. There's a Dread Return over there. There's a Cabal Therapy, a Putrid Imp. Looks like a Breakthrough. I don't know if he's a Dredger.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a Dredger, but he did have 2 card drawers. So that's not the worst keep ever. Next turn you get to play another land, play a Putrid Imp, play a Breakthrough. If you draw a Dredger on the next draw step, you can discard it to the Imp beforehand. But, well, certainly now things are going to be a little more difficult.
I see the Fun Police has showed up.
Yeah. That's kind of messed up, Harold.
Yeah, a Tormod's Crypt and a Thorn.
I'm playing a fair dredge game, and you just try and Tormod's Crypt me and Thorn of Amethyst me. It's not cool.
There's a Gemstone Mine. Thorn's going to make non-creature spells cost 1 more, so that Putrid Imp is good to go. That one can come down.
Yep.
Pretty easy keep for Harold, that's for sure.
Oh, certainly. Not only do he has 2 Tormod's Crypts, correct?
Yeah, 2 in his board.
Yeah, so not only do you have one of those, but you have another card that just makes Dredge's life pretty miserable.
White will draw a card. Now, he did have to lead off with City of Traders to be able to do that, so he will likely have to lose that, but this is also a really good draw, so he's able to play Grim Monolith. He's going to play... Well, he actually has to... No, it looks like he's going to play a City of Traders first. Okay, because he has to pay 1 more to be able to cast Grim, so... There we go.
So now with 1 mana floating.
Now make it 4. I think he just wants to work the metal, maybe. He's a little unsure of what he wants to do. Okay, there we go. Looks like both players are making sure everything is kosher here. I'm pretty sure he works. Does he work metal? Is that better? He's going to play key.
I think he breaks even, ends up with 4 mana.
Yeah, and now he does that. Yeah, because that's going to cost. It costs. Yeah, so he plays that. He's got 4 mana, down to 2, down to 1, up to 4.
Yep.
Play a worker. Pass the turn back. I don't know if he nets anything by doing it that way.
You get the key in play.
Okay.
Which I think is a net gain. Like, you lose a thing that reveals to Metalworker, but the key now costs 2 mana anyway, and it will generate 2 mana. So I think it is just better if you have it in play next turn, and you can use it to untap the Grim Monolith.
Gotcha.
Or, you know, potentially the Metalworker.
So White's setting up shop with these artifacts. And Copenhaver's trying to set up shop, but White won't let him really do a great job of that since he has a Crypt and the Thorn in play. This will be a breakthrough, and it'll be for 1. But again, Copenhaver doesn't have a dredge card in the bin, so...
Yeah. I mean, what he really needs is just... He needs to find any reason to make Herald blow the Tormod's Crypt and then try and sandbag maybe another draw spell. In this case, the Cephalid Colosseum is doing a pretty good job of that, where if he discards a Dredger, maybe dredges into like a Narcomoeba with like some bridges or whatever, Herald is like, I kind of have to blow the Crypt now. And then next turn, he can discard another Dredger off the Putrid Imp and then get the Colosseum chain going.
It's an attack for 2 with a Putrid Imp. Giving those beatdowns. Not flying, of course. You have to discard to put that thing in the air. But a 2/2, show him who you are. Metalworker maybe going to block here? And he says, all right, I'm going to crypt this.
And that's pretty good. I mean, uses the Crypt, and then Putrid Imp becomes a 1/1 and then dies. So now it kind of looks like Eric doesn't really have a discard outlet, right? He only has 1 card. If the card in his hand is a Dredger, then he has to draw something else to get that in the graveyard. So that might look like not a very effective use of Tormod's Crypt, but really all Tormod's Crypt is there for is to buy you time. It's not like a Leyline of the Void, which completely colds their entire deck. All it does is buy you time.
So it's time to generate some mana to put a Godotha Forge Master into play.
And when you have Forge Master that you're going to be able to play next turn, all you really need is time.
Yeah, you need 1 more turn, really. Then you activate that, you go get whatever the heck you want, really.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, what do we have here? A Blightsteel Colossus, I would assume.
Yeah, there's one of those hiding out. There's a Platinum Empyrean. There's 4 Lodestone Golems, War Forge Masters, 4 Metal Workers, and 3 copies of Wormcoil Engine. There's also, you know, Staff of Domination. The Spine of Ishaw is actually in the main deck. There's a Crucible of Worlds, but I imagine it would just be go get Blightsteel.
Yeah.
Here's a breakthrough. It's going to be for 1, it looks like. So all that stuff's going to go in the bin.
Yeah, so Golgari Thug hits the bin. Next turn, he can dredge 4, reach Threshold, be able to activate Cephalid Colosseum. He also kept a Faithless Looting off the breakthrough. So he's probably going to be able to dredge a lot next turn. It's just whether or not Herald actually gives him that turn.
Yeah. Herald doesn't have, you know, the Lightning Greaves at this point. I think he'd probably just try to figure out if I can go infinite with Staff of Domination, but I don't think he has enough artifacts to do that right now.
I think he might be able to use Forge Master, key the Forge Master, and then Forge Master again. He might be able to search up Lightning Greaves and Blightsteel in the same turn.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's actually something that could have been possible that turn, maybe.
Yeah, because he had the Great Furnace in his hand,
He has
correct?
Great Furnace in his hand, and I think he drew a key for the turn, but I think Great Furnace would have been enough. So there's the potential that maybe he missed a, you know, complicated kill that turn.
Yeah. Well, now Eric might be on borrowed time here, and we'll see exactly what he can do. He dredged the Thug and didn't hit another discard outlet, so now he might have to cast the Looting first and hope to draw a land to activate the Colosseum. Because the Thorn is still in play.
Yeah, there's a Looting. You
But-
mentioned nothing to dredge, though.
Yeah, I mean, it is trying to, like, if he left the Colosseum open, he would be hoping to draw an untapped land, discard the Thug, and then hope the Thug chains into something else. when you use the Colosseum to make yourself draw 3 cards. But in this case, I totally understand. Like, that is a very risky move, just letting your Gemstone Mine die on the hopes that you draw an untapped land. But at the same time, there's an untapped, not summoning sick Forge Master over there.
Yeah, so you don't really have time to mess around.
Yeah, bad things are going to happen to you almost certainly.
Here comes Icarid. That's going to get blocked by the Forge Master. Basically a free attack. Kind of hoping that he doesn't block.
So now there's Thorn of Amethyst in play. Eric only has 1 mana available. There are very few things that he could have that are castable.
Harold's going to take a look at his sideboard really quickly. See what he has over there.
It looks like he sided out the Blightsteel Colossus.
It does look that way.
So that makes sense why he did not get Blightsteel and Lightning Greaves on his turn.
Is it Worm Coil Engine time, maybe? I mean, it's still pretty good.
Worm Coil's tough to beat also.
I have to imagine, wow, we're not going to see any activation of the Forge Master. That is interesting. Will it be an attack with the Forge Master? Okay.
So pool 5 mana, sacrifice those 3. And it's just like, get Staff of Domination, use it to draw a card, hope to get enough artifacts to be able to Metalworker and go infinite again.
Reveal.
Or we're
3.
already there, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 to untap a creature, 1 to untap Staff. Metalworker keeps making 6, so you're netting 2 mana on each iteration.
And Copenhaver's like, I have an Nature's Claim, but I can't cast a Nature's Claim, and I assume that you have some sort of way to kill me. And so that is going to do it. Harold White with the Staff of Domination combo is going to do it again, as he does de-sideboard his Crypt and his Thorn of Amethyst, and now he is 7-0 with his Mud deck, and we have our first player into the top 8 this evening, my friend.
In a very exciting fashion also.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are some players who are big fans of this deck. You know, it doesn't put up huge results in Legacy. It has some difficulty with, like, the Delver matchup, depending on how the draws go. Sometimes the deck can overpower Delver, but by and large, I think Delver is actually pretty good against that deck.